Hey guys, Stanford here from the Robotics Network, and welcome back to an episode of Behind the Bumpers. And today I'm hanging out with Team 3476 Code Orange here at the Orange County District event. And we're going to be taking a look at this really incredible machine they've got here. We're going to be taking a look at the intake that they've got, their indexer, and the shooter that just sends this fuel out the field. It's really, really impressive to see. We're taking a look at their interesting flywheel construction technique and all the vision that makes this robot so great to see out in the field. So stay tuned for a look at all that and more on our episode of Behind the Bumpers.
Hello, my name is Jonathan, and I'll be talking about our intake. So this is a 4-bar intake, and we really wanted to emphasize on having an intake that has active control on the balls as they go in. So if you watch the motion as the intake goes up, it really gets that good linear pushing motion as it goes into the hopper. And so that was a really good thing for us. It kind of turns the intake into a ramp that kind of funnels the balls more towards the shooter. Another thing that's really special about this intake is that we have this Scotch yoke design. So this basically allows us to have the hopper box follow the intake as it goes up and down. And so it allows us to transfer that rotational motion of the intake into linear motion for the box. And so for our intake pivoting, we have these custom machine sprockets that we machine out of 6061 aluminum. And that allowed us to quickly change our sprocket because a lot of the sprockets this season were out of stock. So we quickly designed that and made that and popped it onto our robot.
And where's this pivot getting the power from?
Yeah, so actually the pivot is over here. And what we have is this special, it's really hard to see, but in there's a 1-inch round tube that drives the other side. And the gearbox is right here, right in front of you. And so it allows us to transfer torque to both ends of the robot so that we have motion that is equal on both sides and they both move together.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. It isn't too late to order competition apparel for your team at FRC Tees. Founded by FRC alumni and offering a free 14-day turnaround with expedited options available, go to frctees.com to see why hundreds of teams are making FRC Tees their first choice for their apparel needs. That's frctees.com. Osh Cut is the premier metal cutting service for first teams. No minimum order, options for same-day turnaround, 3D tube laser cutting, and with nearly 500 variations of metal in stock and ready to cut. Just upload a file and claim your 50% off discount when you scan the QR code or go to funroboticsnetwork.com/OSHCUT. And
what were some of the things you were trying that were in development for this that you didn't end up running, that you didn't like, didn't work?
So for one thing, we had a motor on this side, so you can see there's an empty bearing hole right there. And we actually wanted to try to have our roller power be coaxial. So we had a belt that started here that went to the pivot point and then up to here. But we realized that had too many issues. Balls would get caught on the belt, which was right here. And so that was a really bad thing. And we could only have one motor. So we decided to switch to Citrus's double motor system, and it had much better performance, and our intake is way better than before.
All right, let's go ahead and hear about this hopper.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ronnie. I'll be talking about a little bit about our hopper. Over here, we have our 2-to-1 gearbox that drives not only a roller floor, but also the first starting roller of our feeder, right? And then on top of our rollers here, we have what we call these cleated belts that we put on top of crown rollers. So what happens is we have these little cleats that we call them, like little triangles, that help agitate the balls and push it very linearly down the ramp. Originally, we had no cleated belts and we had 2 top rollers, but we noticed that sometimes the ball would still get like caught on top of the ball, on top of the roller. So it'd be like a falling action and push the balls back. Another really cool thing about our hopper system is our epoxy coupler system that I call it. How it works is we have an epoxy part that goes inside with embedded 440 nuts, and take these out. But basically how these work is we have a bearing inside our plate, and we basically tighten these little pulley systems against our plates. What happens is we can put 440 screws that tighten against each other, and we can tighten this, and we have a set screw to make sure they don't back out. One advantage of this is that we're able to very quickly swap out our rollers, even when it's configurable, right? If you want a different pulley, we can just slap another one on without having to re-epoxy it, right? Reason why we swapped to epoxy is one, for strength, and also it's for its weight. Compared to one of our older revisions, we had heat sets that went into similar size to a standard stub roller system. We cut down the weight by about 50% compared to a normal weight stub, so we were able to get many more rollers with the same amount of weight.
How did you guys manufacture those cleated belts?
Yeah, so we have these 3D printed CF crown rollers that are screwed into these aluminum rollers here. And we have these pleated belts that we just TPU printed on a bamboo, just in a little big circle. And then we put it on top of the crown rollers, and we don't have any problems with like the belts coming off. Another advantage of having these crown roller belts is that we're able to drive the entire system with the belts without having to do all of these belt systems in between, because that causes extra friction. So if you look here, right, you can see that we're missing some of these belts compared to like some teams where have their belts all the way across every single roller. So that's another advantage of having these crown belts, is that we reduce the amount of complexity and amount of belts that we need.
All right, awesome stuff. Let's see the shooter.
Okay, so hello, I'm William, and I'll talk about a little bit about the manufacturing process of the shooter. So the most notable thing about our shooter are these two massive flywheels. I think they're around 5-inch in diameter, and we made these in-house. We're lucky that this team is vertically integrated, and we have a shop provided by Laser Graphics, and we actually made this on the mini Haas. This required a fixture to kind of, or soft jaws, to clamp onto the vise of the Haas, and then multiple like passes to get this surface finish. As you can see, most of the material is on like the outer diameter or radius of this flywheel, creating the highest moment of inertia per weight. Because weight often is a common issue in FRC, and we wanted to get the most, like the maximum like inertia per weight for this robot. As you can see, this like tube, you can probably see like kind of down here. You can see this is just a solid bar of like stock on the only on the outside to save the maximum weight. We also have a drum shooter, which is one of the metas, and it's kind of like full width, so we can get around 15 balls per second. As this robot is named, it just pretty much shoots out, it spits out fuel in like rapid succession.
And are these flywheels stainless steel or aluminum?
I think these are some sort of compound of steel.
Okay, awesome stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, these were machined on our Haas through multiple, I think, yeah. They machined one face first. As you can see, there's cavities on both ends. There's one here, and there's also one kind of on the inside. So they have to be kind of flipped. And this process took this was a multi-day process, which was also like involving many tools too. So this was actually a very intricate part on our robot.
And how does the hood actuate? Because I know you guys have an active hood as well.
Okay, so this is our hood, and this part was actually manufactured in-house too with our own like gear profile. So this is a 10 DP gear that meshes onto this hood, and I'll move it up and down. Let's see, yeah. It's symmetrical on both sides, having a shaft transfer the power through and a 1-to-1 through bore encoder, so we can get an accurate measure of our hood for our shoot and move.
All right.
And 3D printing backings too for our hood structure, as you can see. Yeah. And kind of back here, you could see how they're aligned. There's curves here and alignment things once it does. You can see it. Yeah. Yeah. Right there.
All right, well, let's take a look at the software that powers all this.
All right, so I would say one of our most important software tools was our cameras that changed from last year. So as you can see, we're not using limelights, we're using photon vision actually. So I think, and so if you want to look, we have 6 total cameras. So we have 4 airport tag cameras here and here on the fronts, and we have object detection cameras on the back. So these detect our fuel essentially, and where we're going to like see the densest amount of the fuels for better optimization. And our airport tags on the back, we have 2 facing forwards, and we have 2 facing back down here. So this gives us like full coverage essentially of any airport tag when we're shooting. So something different is that we switched from limelight to photon vision, like I said before. And the reason for this is that limelight does not have full resolution, which gives us like kind of a pretty flickery pose, which means it's not that great when you want to have like peak performance, right? So these cameras, I think, are 1600 by like 800 resolution, which is a lot better than what limelight has. And some issues that come with using a high resolution cameras are that they're actually they give you less frames per second, and also are more flickery. Their latency is higher. So to combat this, we actually have a unique ML object detection algorithm that we run on these cameras for airport tags. And what they do is that they detect the airport tags on the inside the frame, and they crop the image so that we only see the April tags. And so we're basically only doing calculations on these April tags, and so our frame rate is actually roughly the same as the Limelight, just that we are extremely accurate since we have a higher resolution. We get usually around like 50 frames per second from our cameras, and our pose is like extremely stable, like even with just vision itself.
All right. And what kind of co-processors are you guys using?
Right now we're using the Rubik Pi's 3s. You can see on the back. We currently have 2 strapped on here. We're thinking of adding a 3rd one in the future just because we want to have like more cameras, because more cameras are always better.
All right, folks, so that was your look at this 3476 Code Orange machine. These guys have been looking incredible here at the Orange County District event. So we want to thank you guys so much for allowing us to take a look at this machine. We wish you the best of luck with the rest of your competition.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. Osh Cut is the premier metal cutting service for first teams. No minimum order, options for same-day turnaround, 3D tube laser cutting, and with nearly 500 variations of metal in stock and ready to cut. Just upload a file and claim your 50% off discount when you scan the QR code or go to funroboticsnetwork.com/OSHCUT. It isn't too late to order competition apparel for your team at FRC Tees. Founded by First alumni and offering a free 14-day turnaround with expedited options available, go to frctees.com to see why hundreds of teams are making FRC Tees their first choice for their apparel needs. That's frctees.com.